Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of Hills on the Hardwood. As you already know, I am your guy, Chris Smith, and I got my guy, Troy, with me. Troy, how we doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm feeling good, bro. First episode of Hills on the Hardwood. This thing's been in motion and in the works for a hot minute, and brought to you all by Hills on Franklin. We got some big things cooking up with Hills on Franklin, and I'm excited, man. I'm fired up to be with my guy, Jaden. Super excited for what he brings to the Hills on Franklin community, the Carolina space, the fold, as we call it. And I'm fired up, man. I'm ready to talk some Carolina basketball. Y'all see me on the football side doing my thing with the Tar Pit, and been a diehard Carolina basketball fan. And this is an idea that I've, when I started the Tar Pit, 5 years ago, Chris, I was solely committed to Carolina football, and still am. You guys know I give my all, and my passion is for Carolina football. But talking Carolina basketball is something that was really unavoidable for me. So I'm super excited to be on Hills on the Hardwood with you guys, and excited for what this podcast is going to bring to the Carolina community. Grassroots podcast, grassroots movement. Fan base podcast, the same vibe that we get from the Tar Pit. Hills on the Diamond is what you can expect with us from Hills on the Hardwood. So I'm fired up. Needless to say, I'm ready. Let's roll.
Fired up. Let's roll. Let's get Jaden here. Jaden, I guess we can say officially welcome to the family, my guy. It's good to have you. I know, just kind of give you a little bit of, not you, but kind of give everybody that's tapped in a little bit of a history lesson on how this happened. I approached Troy and Trevor, really when we first sat down, right, Troy, about a year ago now, that, hey, eventually I want to grow this into a full network, right, where you have Hills on Franklin and you just cover all sports under it, and they all have their own show. And so, as hopefully y'all have been able to tell, I'm very picky with who I choose to, or who I approach, that I want to be able to come on the network. I want people that are, not only passionate, but are intelligent about the sport that they're going to cover. They don't just know the game as it relates to who the players are, right, but knows the games of the X's and O's and how it works, so we can give something a little bit more in depth of that. So we saw Jaden online, been interacting with him some, and good follow. Be sure to hit up Jaden over there on Twitter, and because we can't call it X here at Hills on Franklin. But so I was like, hey, Troy, man, what you think about this guy? We've been scouring a few people, and he's like, man, it's, great minds think alike. He had been thinking the same thing too. So Jaden, let's get in here. Let's get you in here a little bit. Tell the Carolina community, the Hills on Franklin community, a little bit about yourself, and how do you find yourself here tonight with us?
Yeah, well, first, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the scouting and the compliments. I had been watching you guys, especially on the Hills in Franklin, for a while now. It's really grown my love for baseball. So if anybody in here hasn't checked that out, please go check it out. Chris and Andrew are really, really good at what they do. I've been obsessed with hoops since, I was born in Chapel Hill. My mother went there. I've been obsessed with hoops since, before I can remember. I started out as an analyst for the McDonald's All-American Games back in 2017. I helped scout players, attended practices, conducted interviews, and from there, that's where my quote-unquote journalism career took off. But it always brings me back to Carolina basketball. I'm a huge Warriors fan, 49ers fan, White Sox fan. I like F1. Boxing's my true love, but no matter what,
yeah, I don't know too many White Sox.
That's a rough life, brother.
It is. It really is. And I haven't told Andrew about the 49ers either. I know he's a Cowboys fan, so that might be a little rough. But
I'm a Washington fan, so that's all good.
Who you rocking with in boxing?
Shakur Stevenson, mi Puerto Rican brother. That's from Newark. Man, I've been riding with him since long before the Jamal Herring fight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got a good. I love some boxing, man. We'll have to talk some boxing.
Really
off air. Yeah, I love boxing, dude. I follow that. Not as close as some other sports, but I can chop it up with you about some boxing for sure.
Yeah,
I'm obsessed.
He had a boxing match at NC State football game once too.
I just told you that the other day. You need to bring it up on air.
No, I'm kidding. We won't go.
It wasn't really much of a boxing match. It was more like a
go put some ice on your lip.
Yeah, a right jab and go ice up.
But Jaden, look, we're honored to have you, man. Thank you for joining the family. I'm excited to have you. I know Troy is, the whole team. It's really like a family here at Hills on Franklin. We're just continuing to grow and add sports. And if you're tapped in right now, look, this is our first show for Hills on the Hardwood. So do us a favor. Holy smokes, why does that look like that?
I like that. That's pretty hot.
That is horrendous. Anyway, I'll try to fix that in a minute. All the widgets and all the stuff is different tonight for some reason. But look, give us some grace. This is our first episode. This is our first time ever like on a show together. So it might take a little bit of getting used to, and also give Jaden some grace. This is his first time ever podcasting. And also, not only that, he set his whole podcast room up like days and days ago, and then ran into like electrical in the room that he was in not working at all. And so he had to move his whole podcasting setup like 2 hours ago. And then I got on with him about 30 minutes to make sure everything was good to go. And it took forever to get his mic to work. And so this is not his normal space that he's gonna be in.
No,
so you might hear some like the mic, brushing a little bit with his hands there because he don't got his boom arm on this desk. So just give us some grace as we get going. So Jaden, I'm going to kick it to you, man. Tell everybody a little bit about Hills on the Hardwood and what they can expect from this show that is presented by Hills on Franklin going forward.
Yeah, so I mean, like you guys already mentioned, this is a grassroots fans run podcast. At the end of the day, we're just fans talking hoops. What we are not is giving inside information. I'm never going to pretend to have a source if I don't have one. Nor should you expect me to have one. That's not who I am. That's not the type of journalism I do. I'm more analytical and less resourceful. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking maybe once or twice a week about what's happening, especially in the off season with the coaching staff and with recruitment. And during the season, we're going to have post games and probably reviews, especially for the larger games if we're playing Duke or NC State, or after the recruiting that's happened in Miami, because now they look like they're going to be a powerhouse in the ACC. And we're going to give you in-depth analyzation on the players, the matches, and what to expect in games and what happened in games post game.
Dude, why do the comments look like this? This is going to drive me nuts, y'all.
You the wizard, brother. I trust you to figure it out.
I don't know. We're just going to roll with it tonight because I can't figure it out right now. But yeah, I do want to reiterate one thing, is that what Jaden was saying is that we are not a podcast for Hills on the Hardwood. Is quite different than the Tar Pit podcast. The Tar Pit podcast does somewhat have different things when it comes to like sourced information. We do know families, we do know people within the organization of the football program, right? So it's a little different for that show. But this show is not a place that you're coming to find out who is about to commit potentially in 5 hours from now, right? Or who is Michael Malone and team talking to, right? We are going to be talking about the same information that you are grabbing online as well, as long as it's not behind a paywall. So we want to create a space for this show where this is all Carolina fans can come and give their opinions, right, on the basketball team, as long as they're respectful, as long as they're, player focused. We're not going to come in here and trash players, that type of thing. So, because that's one of our goals at Hills on Franklin, is that we're a player family first podcast. We take pride in knowing a lot of families on the football side of things, and it's been awesome to grow relationships. And I was just on the phone with he don't probably mind me dropping his name, but Clarence Thomas, Calvin Thomas's dad today. Going to be seeing him tomorrow with Trevor. And so that's what this show is about. Our goal is to be the number one place that Carolina basketball fans can come and just talk hoops. That's our goal. And we are working on Hills on the Hardwood Women's Edition, trying to get a host for that right now. I have somebody would be fantastic that's considering it right now. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But Troy, you got anything you want to add before we, I guess, dive into our first topic tonight?
Yeah, if I could just, reiterate, the Hills on Franklin and just the whole, Carolina community network that we're trying to build, being a player first network and community. Chris, I love what you do with Inside the Dugout with Carolina softball. That's a perfect example of what Hills on Franklin is all about, and just how how we go about doing things and supporting the athletic department as a whole, the Carolina teams. I've a long time said, and talking with you guys, that Carolina has a great sports, athletic department. I mean, all of our, it seems like all of our sports are pretty consistent across the board. So I'm excited for what Hills on Franklin's bringing to the Carolina space altogether. When I started the Tar Pit podcast, it was solely focused on Carolina football and a place where Carolina football fans could come and connect with each other and really get some stuff off their chest, I guess you could say, and just talk about Carolina football. So glad that we're growing it. I'm glad that we've got a network with that same mentality and folks that are in line with that. So I'm ready, guys. Let's talk some basketball.
Yeah, let's talk some basketball. Jaden, I know you're still learning the system, so check the private chat when you get a second. So look, tap in, do us a favor, share this out. Our goal is to just continue to grow so we can just continue to reach more people. We are, like I said, a grassroots platform, so all that goes a long way. You can also find us on Spotify at Hills on Franklin and YouTube Hills on Franklin. Just subscribe, follow, drop a comment. Everybody drop a comment right now. Let me know where you're listening from. And Rev's already throwing some shade to the football team. UNC has a football team, and I want to say, by the way, I figured out
nice.
I changed this so I don't
look at that the wizard, boy. That's what I told you, Jay. You need the wizard.
Crash out. Also, let's see here. Rev,
we do have a football team, Rev.
Yes. Rev, tap in
and
right
them
here.
Boys are working.
What did you mean by this is loud?
Probably the comments, how it was really big.
Okay.
Yeah, it was real loud, like in your face loud.
Got you. It's good to see Jeff Blackwood here.
Trevor,
tonight.
we know you're from Lillington, brother. We know you're from Harnett County. Good to see my guy Trev in here.
Yeah, he's already got jokes. Man, I was hoping you guys could tell me when Juke Harris was going to commit.
I wish I could.
Need him.
All right, look, well, let's hop in. So, look, this is our first ever episode for Hills on the Hardwood, and so it might seem counterproductive, right? What did I say?
No, I'm laughing at Trevor. Engagement.
Oh, okay.
Somebody said I'm listening from prison.
Hey, man, tap in anywhere you can.
We appreciate you.
Hey, I love it, brother. Hold it down.
Yeah, let us know where you're listening. What? Like, never mind. Look, we appreciate you anyway. But
yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Where was I going with that? What was I saying?
Oh man, I got caught up in the prison one. I'm just thinking, like, man, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's commitment.
Some real dedication.
That's commitment. He said we've got more viewers in the WNBA. Congrats, guys. Love that.
But anyway, all right. Look, let's tap in. So it might seem counterproductive to take a step back and talk about the coaching search, right? But we're going to do that for about 10 minutes because this is the first episode. So we do want to do our due diligence in talking about not the coaching search. We're not going to go all the way back to being Hubert being let go, right? There's no point in that. But Michael Malone and the hires that he has. But Jaden, Troy, I didn't tell you this before we hopped in, but let's keep it pretty let's keep it pretty up here, right? Like, from a cloud perspective, however I'm trying to say that, right? Let's not go too far into it. I think next week, some of us can get on an episode that's not live, that's pre-recorded, and we can go a little bit deeper into, Chuck Martin, Kim English, things like that. And so I think that'd be best for tonight since we're already 18 minutes in. I mean, but that's our first episode, right? We had to do the introductions, jostle it up. And I will say, Troy, I am excited to finally be able to put on, not that I couldn't before, but some like Carolina basketball gear for a podcast, because in football, I've always made it a point not to wear basketball gear because I know, right? Because we are known as a basketball school. And so, right, like somebody would comment and be like, look, man, they can't even be taken seriously because they got football gear on. So yes,
look,
Chris,
it kills me when like we played Duke in Chapel Hill this year. And I think a majority of Duke fans that I saw inside Keenan Stadium had like Cameron Boozer jerseys and Zion Williamson jerseys all scattered across the lower bowl. And I'm like, basketball school.
Yeah, there you go. Rev's a passer, so he's got it. What I was trying to say is a 30,000 foot overview. So what I mean by the passer comment, he's a very good communicator. So yeah, Chris Smith that you always see on football and baseball. I do have actually basketball gear. This is one of my favorite hats. I just don't wear them on the football show. And this is the OJ Jordan Hills jersey. But anyway, look, let's tap in. Jaden, talk to me a little bit about, just a 30,000 foot view, as Rev would say. Who is Mike Malone? Where does he come from? How did he get here?
Yeah, so this was a great hire, and if you followed me on Twitter, you would know that I was really, really hesitant at first, and I got a lot of heat for it. And I took my time to respond to every single person I could, which in the future I might not. But Mike Malone, 2023 Nuggets championship head coach, really, really good head coach, a real tactician, a defensive head coach who just happens to have two offensive juggernauts in Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray for the peak of his career with the Nuggets. But he was known as someone who, A, is going to really defend his players. He's going to get on your case. I'm not throwing any shade at any previous coaches, but that's what he's known for, being a head case in a good way.
He's from
his
Queens.
Defenses, his defenses are top notch. He's a real grit and grind head coach. And when you combine that with top tier talent that hopefully we're going to have, it usually works out really, really well, as you can see with the Nuggets.
Yeah, Troy, what you got here, man? Anything you want to add? And like I said, we will go deeper next week on an individual video about Mike Malone and the coaching hires.
Yeah, I mean, it's no elephant in the room that he's the first outside hire in 70 plus years in recent Carolina basketball history, with no ties to Carolina at all, other than his daughter going to school on the volleyball team, which I thought was really, really cool. But yeah, Mike Malone, he's above 500 winning head coach in the NBA, 2023 NBA champion. And what he really did with that Nuggets team, man, during that championship run was really impressive. I mean, they were a really dominant force in the West that year in 2023, and really handled their own in the playoffs that season. So I like what his teams do. The defensive tenacity that they play with. He said it in his introduction at Carolina. He said, I'm a defensive minded head coach. So I love that. I love the fact that he's, that he'll get into guys, and he wants guys that are self-motivated. That really stood out to me as well in his introduction press conference when he was introduced as head coach. So I'm excited for it. I think there's a lot of renewed energy around Carolina basketball right now with this hire. But you guys know it just like I know it, and especially, I relate it to the football side. We got money thrown in football. We got money thrown at basketball, but it don't matter unless you're winning. So we'll see how he does as the head coach of the Tar Heels. I'm excited for him, and either way, no matter what, I'm gonna support him. So I'm along for the ride with him. Money Malone, that's what I call him.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely carries that essence of swag. It feels like. And
yeah,
Jaden,
I told you, Chris, we were talking last night, man. He just oozes NBA. He's got NBA head coaching aura. Like you 100%. look at him, and he just looks like a NBA head coach for what that's worth. Chris, you said coach has got some swag, don't he? And I was like, yeah, he just looks like an NBA head coach.
Yeah, Trevor says I'm ready for them to spend the money. I think they have offered money, but we'll get to that in a minute. Not to throw shade or anything, Jaden, and bring it up again, but I think you're underselling your first comment a little bit on the coaching hire. I mean, you were pretty strong about your.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you, Jaden. I called Chris. I was like, I can see Jaden don't like the hire.
I didn't. I really didn't. Not because Mike Malone wasn't a great coach, and I think
Yeah.
I may have put it in the thread that I always thought Mike Malone was a really good coach, and you can see that Nuggets fans ride for him. I mean, they really wanted to
loved
keep him, and now they're all Carolina fans, so the Carolina fan base is only growing. But yeah, I guess I was so caught up in thinking like I was never huge on we're gonna get everybody that we're gonna get or that's on our board. I never thought we were gonna get Lloyd, although I really wanted him. I never thought we were gonna get May. I didn't really want Oates. I really wanted TJ, thought we could, but we didn't. But because of that, I was very disappointed that we got someone who has not been in the coaching game for college in 25 plus years, has not had to deal with recruiting, AAU relationships, NIL, the transfer portal. And I'm like, as great of a coach as he is, or at least that I think he may be, I don't know how that's going to work because so much of coaching is more than just being on the floor and being a tactician. I mean, I would almost say more than half of it happens before the season even starts. And I was very nervous about how that's going to play out. But after seeing, one, after just sleeping on it and getting out of my feelings, to be honest, and two, seeing that Carolina was putting Carolina North on hold, throwing money at it, and the hires that Malone has made that we're going to talk about, from an overview perspective, I'm really liking it. And I think personality is really important, and I may have undersold or underappreciated how valuable that is. He is in many, many ways, almost the complete opposite of a couple of coaches that we've had in recent years.
You can say names. It's okay.
Well, yeah, him and Hubert. I have so much respect for Hubert, so I don't like talking bad about him.
Yeah.
I mean, Hubert's a big reason why we had all the players we had. He was Roy's recruiter. But yeah, Mike Malone and Hubert are just complete opposites. I mean, Mike will cuss you out in front of everyone. He will get texts. He's the type of coach that even when the Nuggets and the Wolves were going at it, the Wolves fans were like, "Hey, man, we can't do nothing but respect this," because he is going for his players. One thing that I think we hadn't had too much. So I'm really loving it now. I'm still not like 100% sold, but I'm about 85.
Yeah,
don't sleep on old Roy now. Roy had some fire, and we get into you. Don't think he wouldn't pull them 5 starters out at the beginning of the game. But I'm with you, Jaden. I'm the same way with Hubert, man. I loved Hubert, and we'll keep this brief because I loved Hubert Davis for what he meant to Carolina and what kind of passion he had for the university. I thought he was a great representation. But they are complete opposites, and that's got me intrigued to see, just how guys play for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if nothing else, it's very intriguing. I mean, it's giving Carolina fans hope for the first time in a while. No matter what our classes have looked like, no matter what our classes have looked like, or the preseason, either number 1 preseason ranking, there was always a feeling of like, man, I mean, I don't know if we're preseason number 1 because of the players or because of the coaching. I don't think we have that feeling right now. I think this is intriguing because any ranking we get, which I hope it's not too high, I'd rather be an underdog, to be honest, but that's just my personal preference. Any ranking we get, I think in large part is because of Mike Malone. And I think that's a feeling we haven't had since Roy, to be honest.
Yeah, and just to add in there, just for a little bit of laughs, I guess, if you find it funny, but when Troy called me and was like, "Man, Jaden's getting he doesn't seem to really like the hire," the first thing I think I said back is I was like, "Yeah, we have one seasoned co-host in Andrew with a post that's on fire, and now we got a new one that ain't even stepped on the platform yet, and they're both getting cooked in their comments."
I was getting thrashed, yeah.
And that's kind of the hard part is like, when you're it's kind of funny because people are like, "Oh, you're just a podcaster or whatever," right? Like, I saw the podcast comment, right, that someone said to you, and it's just like, well, yeah, I mean, you're a burner account behind a image, like image that's not even yourself. Like, we put ourselves out there and take the risk of being clipped, and that's okay. Like, we love this space, and we have this space for fans to be able to come in and drop comments, and we do see the comments flowing. There will be a point of the show when we get to them, and so look, there's going to be times when we agree or disagree, and it's all good. So let's go ahead and transition over to assistant coach. That the first one that Malone brought in was in Chuck Martin. I'm gonna kick it to you first, Jaden. What you got?
So Chuck Martin, one, this was an A+ hire, and this was the hire that I was like, man, this is really exciting for Carolina basketball. Uh, just quick introduction about him. He is not a tactician. He is not a coach that is really strategizing about the X's and O's of the game. He doesn't care too much. Well, when I say care, he's not strategizing too much about defensive rotations or reading the help defense or things like that. He is much more of a behind the scenes coach, and he will be the main connection between Mike Malone and the entire college basketball ecosystem. He will have the AAU pipelines. He'll know which AAU programs produce real players, which coaches are more trustworthy than others in high school, which player archetypes will fit with Malone's system. And he's been a part of some really big recruiting classes. In 2023, Oregon had the 11th recruiting class. And Jackson Shelstead mentioned that Chuck was a huge reason why he came. And most notably, that 2025 Arkansas recruiting class with Darius Acuff, again, with Chuck being a huge part of that. So this is a really, really good hire. We could not have gotten a better hire for Mike Malone, especially regarding the fact that Mike Malone has never been a head coach for college and hasn't dealt with NIL recruiting and portal. Chuck is the expert. And it could not have gone better.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic hire. We do see the comments flowing in over on YouTube about the players. We are going to get to, portal construction, potential transfers, the first commit in Neo that we got. We will get to these comments here shortly. Troy, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to keep rolling. Let Jaden take this section. Jaden, go ahead and give us a little bit about Kim English. I love this hire, by the way. I mean, you got a guy that comes in, even though Providence, right? Mm-hmm. Even though Providence was horrific in defense, I still think it goes good because Malone is known as a defensive first guy, right? Even though he does have a strong idea on the offensive side of the floor as well. I mean, he's an NBA coach. He was an NBA coach for a reason and won a chip that way. So kind of give me your thoughts on Kim English and what he'll bring to this staff.
Yeah, so Kim English, another A++ hire. He's not coming in as some superstar head coach. We were never going to get that for an assistant coach anyway. He was the head coach at George Mason for a couple years and then got promoted to the head coach of Providence in the Big East. If you don't really know too much about Kim English, you can think of him as a Nate Oates-esque type of coach without the controversies. He is a real run and gun offensive type of coach. He knows offenses really well. He played a huge part in developing Devon Carter. Now, the problem is, of course, run and gun offenses are high risk, high reward. And the offense he tends to run, especially about making the correct reads, require a lot of continuity from roster from year to year and a high chemistry, which he didn't really have because he was a huge portal recruiter. And because of that, well, not simply because of that, but a lot because of that, in large part because of that, the rosters didn't really work out and he failed at Providence. But as an assistant coach, especially with Mike Malone, who is a defensive specialist, like you said, I mean, this is another hire that pretty much couldn't have gone better. An offensive mastermind who knows how to develop a program, develop players, and who's going to fit really well with Chuck and Mike.
Yeah, Troy, as we close out this section, and I know we've got almost 400 people tapped in, I just want to remind everybody that, next week or the week after, we are going to drop some more in-depth, just one-off videos over at Heels on Franklin on the YouTube page, and they'll go up on Spotify, just going in a little bit deeper in these assistant coaches and in Chuck Martin, English, and then also the UNC guys that, were retained on the staff, which I think was a great decision there. Troy, any last closing thoughts to close this section out?
If I could add one thing on Chuck Martin, I think he's got a great eye for talent. That'll be in line with what Mike Malone's looking for. Particularly, I mean, you look at that 2023 Kentucky recruiting class was number 2 in the country. I mean, they probably underperformed a little bit that season. I think they went 23-10, but just the eye for talent that he brings with him to Carolina. I mean, he was responsible for getting Boogie Flan to Arkansas and Darius Acuff as well. And Boogie Flan played well for Arkansas. He did pretty solid for he played at Florida this season, if I'm not mistaken. I think he did pretty good. for them. So I like what he brings. I don't know, and I'll throw this out there. Maybe somebody in the comments can help us out with it. But I don't know if Brad. You talk about the coaches that were retained, Chris. I love the fact that they kept Sean May and Eric Hoots and those guys on staff to kind of to still bridge that gap of a outside hire and the Carolina family. But I don't know if Brad Frederick was retained by Mike Malone. And if that's the case, I mean, he's been around Carolina for a really long time and was one of Roy's top recruiters as well, and was responsible for getting a lot of, Carolina guys that we know on a first name basis to Chapel Hill. So I don't know if anybody in the comments could help with that, verifying if Brad Frederick was retained by Mike Malone or not. But if not, that's the end of an era, in my opinion, and one that I don't think is getting talked about enough.
Yeah. Jaden, any last closing thoughts there?
Just in general, I think this coaching staff is already maybe the best in the ACC. I don't care what Duke fans have to say. I am really excited. I'm intrigued about Miami's coaching staff. I think Ja Lucas is doing such a really good job over there. And he's recruiting in the portal so well too. It's a little jealous, but we're getting there too.
Who's that coach that they have on their coaching staff? That assistant coach that's like locked in. It's not. I can't remember his name, but he's like a staple on the Miami coaching staff. I don't know. You just brought up Miami and he jumped out. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, you're good. I almost want to say I vaguely know who you're talking about, but I couldn't put a name to face. But if I was to take any coaching staff on an even playing field, I'm taking Carolina's right now with Mike Malone, Chuck, and Kim English, two head coaches and one who's maybe the best recruiting assistant head coach or assistant coach in the entire sport. There's not much better you can do here.
So here you go. Bears Hill 8. We appreciate this comment. Pat Sullivan returns, but not Frederick.
There we go.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate. I love Malone and his relationship with Pat Sullivan. That was a very easy transition there.
Yeah, so we appreciate everybody tapping in. Do us a favor, share this out. It goes a long way in helping the platform grow. Jaden, for this next one, we're going to be talking about, or Jaden and Troy, we're going to be talking about outgoing transfers and current commits that we have. Which graphic did you want for this, or did you not want one here?
We can talk about the current, or you can throw the current rosters graphic up, and we'll talk about the outgoings first.
All right, that sounds good. All right, man, I'll let you go ahead and kick this section off with a short, basically, a message for Caleb. Not a message per se, but kind of just talking a little bit through about the Caleb and the impact that he had.
Yeah. So Caleb won already maybe a top 5 Tar Heel in most fans' eyes, especially the younger ones. It sucks to see him go, and a lot of people wanted him back. I'm very glad he went to the draft. I think it's important for the program's long-term success that we have a top 4 pick, especially just a lottery pick in general, and someone who I think will have a long-standing career in the NBA. We lost a couple of key pieces, most notably, at least amongst the fan base, Derek Dixon, a combo guard who had some huge moments. I mean, that step back versus Kentucky is etched in my brain forever. I remember I was at my girlfriend's house, and I had to dial it back because I didn't want to just upset everyone. But man, I mean, it was such a huge shot. Of course, the pass to Seth, and his development is going to look really good at Arizona. Maybe in a future episode, I can address Arizona fans saying that we're a developmental program for them.
They got to send us a front court player again.
Yeah, I like the trades.
I mean, just an awesome opportunity for the burner community.
I think Chris.
Also, take your player.
I think you lagged on us a little bit, Chris.
Okay, am I good now?
Yeah, you're straight now.
No, I was just saying, what an awesome opportunity for the burner community of Arizona, which I didn't really find that there was many of them during the coach's search, but
I did, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it's all good, but what an awesome opportunity for them to be able to say, you don't get our coach, and we also take your player in the midst of it as well. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah, the hate watch was beautiful. Them versus Michigan. I enjoyed it personally. I did not want Arizona to win. But we did lose Derek Dixon. We lost Luka. I'm okay with that. Luka was a key piece for depth more so than for potential. I think he doesn't really raise the floor for the program, but he can get really hot as he did. He had a couple of 15-plus point games. Um, and I really hope he does well at Oklahoma State. I think he will. I think he'll have the keys to the offense. He had some flaws, but that's all right. Best wishes to Derek and Luka.
Yeah, I'd like to just throw this one up here real quick. Brad Frederick has been retained by Coach Malone. So, look, real quick on Luka. I'll disagree there just a little bit, Jaden. I think Luka does potentially have, I wouldn't say a high ceiling, but between a medium and high ceiling. I think.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So I'll try to choose my words closely. And I think it's easy for people to crash out on him just because some of the things that he did this season. Coming from overseas, and yeah, he did play professional ball over there. I just think early on he had a hard transition mentally. And I know there were stories written about that, like really missing home, having potentially maybe a hard time fitting in. And that does translate to the floor. But I think, what Malone and this staff is looking for, I don't think they're looking for many players that they needed to develop in year one.
Right.
And I think we saw that with the Neo get here that we're going to talk about here shortly. And also, I think it's fair to say too that Luka has a lot of areas in his game that he does need to improve on, even in those games that he was hot in. One of the things that he did consistently that drove me nuts, and I know also drove Troy nuts, because we would be watching the game at the Smith Center in person and say, if I literally see one more Luka drive where he jumps and tries to pass the ball in midair, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and it was very, very frustrating. And he only did that at the end of the season.
Yeah, and at Carolina, you have to be able to. You want a player on the floor that has a good feel of the spacing around them when they're driving to the basket or they're trying to come off a pick and roll and pass and then drive or whatever it may be. They've got to have a good basketball IQ or an instinct of where people are at the floor already. You don't jump and then try to pass the ball. You're creating a moment of chaos. And like we saw it so many times, turnovers.
It happened so much versus VCU too. It was driving me crazy. I think he had 3 turnovers within a 4 or 5 minute span. It may have been 2. It felt like 5, where it was the exact same thing. He would jump and he would just have nowhere to pass it to. And I think Andrew even mentioned it on Twitter, and I commented during the game. I'm like, man, it happened again.
Yeah, and just one quick comment. We have somebody says, I think Dennis is returning too. So that is like behind the paywall information there. So I don't really want to talk about that. I know there's been rumblings on Twitter about that. He has not released that. I know there is one person out there, Carolina Tar Heels story, that I respect greatly. I know them just from like DMs. I think when it comes to a graphics game, he has one of the best graphic games in the business, and I've told him that. And he put that out, and I think it was his family or somebody close to that party asked him to remove that. And so I think that whole situation there is a little bit strange in itself of what's going on there. I'm not saying that he's not coming back, right? It's just quite interesting.
Not confirmed, yeah.
Yeah, not confirmed. So let's talk about Dylan Mingo a little bit here. Jaden, what you got here? Potentially, I think it is safe to say that Carolina parted ways. This was Carolina's choice, and I guess I'll kick it off here. I think in the sense of the days of the portal and where the Carolina roster is, and this is me not trying to gaslight anybody. It is really easy to crash out in moments like that. When you see a 5-star, number one, point guard in the class, not come on campus for the next year, there is a potential for crash out. I took a step back and said, what's really going on here? Why? And for me, I came to a conclusion that I'm actually okay with this. And I feel like I came to that conclusion rather quickly. And it's because he didn't play much his senior year. He's had issues, shooting the ball as it relates to like, the 3-point, behind the arc at times. And he's coming off a pretty I think it was like we didn't quite know how bad the injury was, right?
Yeah.
And now Norlander has even reported, I believe it was, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, has put out that he's even potentially considering redshirting for his freshman year. I mean, what a complete nightmare if, in my opinion, if Mingo if you take Mingo, you have all that NIL tied up in a kid that decides to redshirt, right? Versus you could have had that NIL to go and spend on a player that's already proven at the P4 level, right? Or a P5 guy that you've scouted analytically and you feel like his game's going to translate to the P4 level. So I'm actually fine with kind of, going in a different direction. And I will say, and if you watch us on like the Tar Pit podcast or whatever, we will potentially sometimes just like give it to you straight. And this is just kind of a message to Carolina fans. Don't let outsiders, and what I mean by outsiders is like a Seth Davis or these national writers or even some of these local writers. Like there's one that his podcasting background is like all these ACC schools, right, or whatever. And I'm not going to put his name out there, but Jaden, I think you know who I'm talking about.
Absolutely,
is that the comment is that he put is don't let anybody tell you this is not a big loss.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't tell me as a Carolina fan, as a Carolina alum, how I should feel. Right. And then 2 days later, Norlander tweets that this guy is going to potentially redshirt. All right, bro, you want to retract the statement?
Yeah, I think when Inside Carolina first released that article, the biggest part of it was them saying parted ways. And it would be very, very easy to just say that Mingo decommitted or that he was just opening his recruitment and was looking at Baylor, Penn State, and Washington again. But the parted ways thing was really big. And it ended up looking like that's exactly what happened, especially now that Matt Norlander came out saying that he might or will likely redshirt. Now, I'm not here to crystal ball anything, but with his brother committing to Baylor, it's very possible Dylan follows him there. That's not for me to really predict, though. But I was never extremely high on Mingo. I do wish him the best, and I thought he would have been a great pickup if he was going to play for sure. That's no doubt. But I was never extremely high on him. I think especially as a high school prospect, if you aren't freakishly athletic and you aren't a sharpshooter in high school, there is a high correlation with not being those two things and not panning out as much in college and at the pro level. I always like to reference back to the 2017 McDonald's All-American games that I scouted with Quade Green and Trevin Duvall, and I felt like I called those pretty quickly. They did not end up being nearly as good. And of course, Trevin went to Duke. They weren't nearly as good as they were in high school. Trevin Duvall was the number 5 player in the class. And he just wasn't really what Duke fans thought he would be. Neither one of them are in the NBA. I do wish Dylan Mingo the best, but I think this is better for the program, especially if Mike and Chuck and Kim and staff feel like they can recruit someone who's a sophomore or junior, those who will talk about that can fill Dylan's role better than Dylan could have.
Yeah. Troy, what's your thoughts?
In terms of the Dylan Mingo stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I liked the Dylan Mingo commit when he, committed to Carolina on First Take. I watched a lot of his game. I felt like he was a real fluid, smooth operator at the point guard position. But looking at some of the guys that we're going after, Terrence Brown, Juke Harris in the portal, I'd much rather have a guy. And don't get me wrong, I think Dylan Mingo has got the potential to be a great college player. I would have loved to have seen him suit up in Carolina blue, but when you looking at the grand scheme of things and the big picture of it all, having a guy come in from the portal that's averaged 19 points a game at Utah, that works in today's landscape of college basketball. So I wish him nothing but the best. It'll be interesting to see how his college career goes. It's got a kind of a story, kind of a storybook feel of him meeting Carolina at some point during his college career, and we'll see how that matchup goes. But wish him nothing but the best. I will say, if I could chime in on a little bit of the whole, Derek Dixon and the guys that we lost. I really wish we could have retained Derek Dixon.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a guy, like you said, Jaden, that's going to develop really, really well at Arizona. And I'll be honest with you, I talked with my buddy Lance about this in detail because we were big Derek Dixon fans. When he committed to Carolina, he reminded me so much of Joel Berry, which is honestly one of my favorite Tar Heels of all time. I think by the time Derek Dixon's college career is up, he will be one of the best guards in the country, and I could easily see him leading the team to the Final Four, which is why I really wanted him to come back to Carolina. I would have loved to have seen him more in an off-ball role. Obviously, with Kyan Evans not working out like Carolina really anticipated him being this season, you had to insert Derek just before midway of the season, and he flourished. So I think he could shoot the ball really well. And at this point, you need that. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes with the portal guys and what we're able to add. And if we can get some guys in, it takes the sting of losing Derek away a little bit. But if we've got to pivot or we'll see how it goes trying to fill that spot. It'll just be interesting to see who we get. Who we replace him with, because I would have loved to have him back. If there was a guy, you look at Luka leaving, going to Oklahoma State. I had question marks of Luka coming in to Carolina from the very jump. I was in a couple group chats on Twitter, and not to discredit Luka, because I that Clemson game, I mean, he willed us to a win. Chris, me, you, and Trevor were there for that game. I wish him nothing but the best at Oklahoma State. I was in a couple group chats and just had some question marks about him from the beginning, how his game would translate to to college. We saw flashes of him this season. I think, you brought up the frequent turnovers the last, 4 or 5 games of the season. It was very, very frustrating to watch, but wish him nothing but the best. And the guys that we lost, I hope they go on to have great college careers, and, we'll see how they do. I'm more focused on who we're eyeballing, who we're getting, what we got coming in, replacing them, and just where we're going from here. The transfer portal era, it giveth and it taketh, so we'll see how it works out.
Yeah. It's just a big scenery change from going to Chapel Hill to Oklahoma State.
Yeah. That pass Derek Dixon made to Seth Trimble, that will live in Carolina
forever.
Forever. I mean, that pass that he made to set Seth Trimble up for that corner 3 to Barry Duke. I mean, that's a play that we'll see next season in the introduction to a basketball game. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Don't remind me.
Man, that was yeah. Man, what a moment. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Jaden, where you want to take it from here, man? What do you want a graphic back up, or where do you want to go?
We can talk about the incoming transfers, starting with Neo. We can put his graphic up. I think a lot of people have questions about Neo, rightfully so. He is a very, very intriguing prospect, both for the college game and for the pros. The thing about Neo, I mean, he's a 6'9", almost a playmaking guard. An offense can use him as a small forward, not really a power forward. He doesn't have the strength or athleticism for it, but a small forward, a shooting guard if he's hot, a point guard if need be. VT used him as their primary initiator, and he was consistently inconsistent. One thing you will see Tech fans complain about was the fact that they never knew what they were getting out of him. But a lot of the problems that he has, I'm okay. I think that Mike Malone will be able to develop pretty easy. One, consistency with the freshman is something you see develop throughout their career. They get better and better and better with it. This is whether you are in high school, in college, or the pros. Mike Malone was really known for getting players to be more and more consistent, whether that be Murray or Aaron Gordon. Even when you had Bruce Brown. I think that another big thing people criticized Neo for was his efficiency. But again, he was the primary initiator and shot creator for an offense that didn't have that much talent around him. Mm-hmm. I like to think of him as LaMelo Ball in that sense. Different players, but both tall offensive initiators who they can be inefficient and chuck up shots, but sometimes you're going to need that. You live and die by your best player, and they lived and they died by their best player, Neo. but he is a really good player. He did kind of tail off during ACC play when teams scouted him a little bit more. But again, I'm not too worried about it. The playmaking talent at this height is rare. You're not going to find it too much, especially at the college level. You're not going to find it too much. And he played pro in Greece from 15 years old. So he has a really good feel for the game. It showed versus Providence, where he had 33-6, versus Western Carolina, where he had 30-2. Even versus Carolina, where he had a smooth 19-5 and he wasn't too inefficient. He was the reason they were ever in the game in the first place. So a lot of the criticisms I think aren't too big for me, which is why he's a 5-star prospect for me on this roster, especially with more talent around him. I can easily see him being, you know, a 15-5-5 guy, if not better, and much more efficient. I'm not too worried about the defense either. He can switch. He can rotate. He's not as athletic, but he does have a great change of pace. So I'm really liking this pickup.
Yeah, you know, for me, just talking about Neo overall, I think I'm very high on this pickup, and it's not because of the game that he had, you know, at VT. It's for me, it's about the potential, right? You know, where it hints to you big time where Malone wants to go with this roster, right? You know, if you take a look at, you know, Malone's type of offenses that he likes to run, right? It's a lot of like clearing out space. And I think with the length there, you know, if Henry comes back, I mean, you know, 7'1", then you're talking about Neo, who is listed anywhere from 6'7" to 6'9", which that is a big difference between 6'7" and 6'9", depends on whatever site you
he looks every bit of 6'9" than me.
Yeah, 6'9". I think this is a great pickup. So I'm also really excited about, you know, this Neo pick doesn't also pigeonhole you, in my opinion, where Mike Malone and staff can go in the portal. This is not a player that you have to bring in other players to specifically build the game around Neo. I mean, that's not happening anyway, but you know, in like certain systems, right? You know, a Neo, I mean, I think a Neo is going to fit in every system, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's some players that aren't going to fit right with other types of players in their games. Neo is a guy that can be slotted and fitted with basically anybody, right? So you don't have to have a dominant point guard in the portal if we decide not to go that route, right? I necessarily don't want Neo running point guard. I would rather him be the second pass after the point, or the first pass from the point guard and then the initiator. I mean, because being at 6'7", 6'9", he can basically see over most of people out there on the perimeter. Very good to see the passing lanes open very quickly. I would like to see some of his fast twitch, just some of the film I looked at. Just, and not to disagree with you so much, and Jane, I think he does some of those fast twitch muscles that he showed his freshman year weren't up to where it needs to be when it comes to like defense and being able to recover. But that is to say, though, there was many plays that I looked at when he didn't have that, wasn't there for that first step from that, you know, point guard, shooting guard, power forward, whatever it may be. He was able to recover decently because he is so long. Right.
Yeah, he wasn't an elite defender by any means, but he was serviceable just because of his size and length. Like I said, he's not very athletic. He's not the strongest. He won't be able to get to the line that much, at least not as of right now. And he's not an elite finisher. However, because of his change of pace, he is serviceable on the defensive end. He can create space, especially, man, that first game at Providence, everybody was calling him Luka Light. The space creation was just abnormal. For regardless of size, position, or class, it was abnormal. And I think especially in Mike Malone's offense, who, you know, notoriously is very, very keen on developing larger point guards, or at least offense initiators, I think he's going to thrive. Like I said, the biggest issues with him, efficiency, consistently being inconsistent, not being the world's best defender, I think those will really develop in time.
I think I saw that he sometimes had an issue with, like, you know, over dribbling, and I think that just comes with being a freshman, right? You know, I mean, he is what, 21, right? So that's a very, you know, I guess you could say old freshman, but you know, Euro guys, when they get here, and I think you made a great point. You know, I don't really buy into his numbers that he had at VT and some of his efficiency numbers that were there. I think some of that had to do with the talent, like you said, around him. Right. I think it's I think it's a little unfair, right, to ask a Euro kid to come in right from the get-go and to be your lead initiator right from the get-go. But I mean, I think I know we have a good portal pickup. When Virginia Tech fans, when I posted that he had committed, I don't know if any Troy or Jaden saw this. I used the words impressive season, and they latched on to that wording so much. Am I muted?
No, sir.
Oh, no,
No,
sir.
no,
Okay. I thought I heard when you said I'm muted. And so after reading all these Virginia Tech comments, I was like, yeah, they're pretty salty. They're pretty salty that he's left, because today Virginia Tech was liking all my posts because of the Inner Sandman that I tweeted and was saying that, like, hey, if you've never experienced this at, VT football, you need to go and experience it, right? Like,
I went to comment on your post earlier and said I try to forget this game because I think Carolina was ranked top 10 in the country going into that game, and we did not show up to play.
Well, that was not the game that I was at.
Oh, okay.
That game was right after COVID that I tweeted, and I had put like I experienced this 10 plus years ago.
I got you.
So that was a night game that I attended. But anyway,
that atmosphere was insane.
Oh, dude, it was electric. Jaden, where you want to go from here, man? Troy, do you have any thoughts on Neo?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. When I watched, I didn't even know Neo had who he was, or that he even committed to Virginia Tech. And then I was scrolling through Twitter one day, and I just saw videos of him absolutely cooking Providence. And I'm like, daggone, I was looking at, about that time we had Luka on roster, and I'm like, well, you got Luka coming in from, Montenegro, and then you got him coming in from wherever he was from. And I'm like, man, this dude just seems like he would be a great fit at Carolina. And fast forward to now, he's, the first portal pickup of the Malone era. So I'm excited for the addition. Jaden, I'm glad you threw a name out there that I've used quite frequent when I watch his game, and I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought it. It's very Luka-esque in his one-on-one match, in the one-on-one matchups and some of the moves that he does, and not more so of the moves, but just the pace at which he does them. Luka's very methodical. And if you watch Luka Doncic, and I know a majority of the people in this chat and watching us and in the chat probably have, just the fluidness in which he plays, Neo reminds me a lot of him in this game. It would be interesting to see how he develops under Malone. One thing that I'm interested in this season with the roster fit is his passing ability. I think he averaged just under 5 assists a game at Virginia Tech last season. He was more, like you said, Jaden, he was more their primary scoring option. It'll be interesting to see if Malone and the staff can tap into him being more of a playmaker, and kind of a pass, not really necessarily a pass first guard, because you bring him in because of his scoring ability. But if he can make that right, make the extra pass, if there's a better shot open. I'm interested to see his game and what they can tap into with that. So I love the pickup. I think he's from the very jump. I thought he was a guy that I would have loved to seen in a Carolina uniform. So it's very fitting for him to be our first portal pickup of the Malone era. I'm excited for it. I think with this pickup, you can kind of see the trend of what Malone likes in his players and the kind of offense. I think it may be hitting a little bit to what kind of offense we may be seeing in Carolina. So we'll see who we add around him. I think that's a big piece. Who we've got around him will tell a lot of how his game is going to go this season for us.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I just wanted to mention Lee Sports Guy here over on Twitter, and then also Curtis Hathaway. We do see your comments about potential portal targets. If we miss out on those, who we're going to go after. I have starred those comments, so when we get to that segment here shortly, we'll talk about that. But go ahead, Jaden.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as we transition to seeing who all the other available transfers are, I just want to make it clear that just in case it gets clipped, what Troy and I did not say was that Neo is Luka. A lot of people will hear us say Luka light or Luka-esque, and they'll comment, "Oh, he's not Luka." I never said he was.
Yeah.
He's not close. Him and Luka, they do have different tendencies. I mean, Luka is a lot more physical. He's more athletic than Neo ever was. Maybe not now. It's different now.
Bigger body for sure.
Yeah, way stronger. He used his strength to his advantage a lot more than Neo ever could because Neo is not the strongest, especially at that size and frame. But just in terms of how he creates space, his dribbling tendencies, how he gets to the basket sometimes, even though it's not as physical and he doesn't drive as straight, he often cuts to the corner a little bit more than maybe a coach would like. It is still Luka-esque, and I do think it's really important, whether you're scouting for the NBA or for your team in the portal, it's okay to look at the highlights and not worry about the inconsistencies too much because you are looking for potential. That's what coaches want. Unless you are looking at a Jaren Stevenson, which we'll talk about, or a Matt Abel guy from the NC State, which we'll talk about, coaches are looking at potential. It's okay to look at those Providence highlights, who's still a P5 program, and you say, look, he cooked them and he did really good against a high major. He had some low lows, but he had some really high highs, and that's really important. You don't just have to look at the inconsistency.
This and we'll see how Neo does in Carolina Blue, but I remember another Carolina transfer that came into the Smith Center and played pretty well that ended up committing to Carolina and played pretty good for us too in Cameron Johnson. I remember that Pitt game, he came into Carolina and dropped 24 points on us. And then the next season, Roy's advocating for him to not sit out a year. And they add him to the Carolina roster and he takes off, probably one of the best transfers we've ever had in Carolina history. So I'm like you, I don't, I say that because he had a 19-5 stat line against Carolina. Yeah. So I just kind of made that comparison in my head. So I figured I'd let y'all know about it. But, I'm glad that you reiterated that, Jaden, because we're definitely not calling him Luka. What reminds me of him, and I'll be honest with you, the step back that Neo has is what reminds me of Luka. To be honest with you, it's that slow, methodical step back that he can kill you with is what reminded me a lot of him. But I appreciate you reiterating that because we are not calling Neo Luka Doncic.
Not at all.
One of the things I wanted to kind of get your opinion on, Jaden or Troy, right? I was looking at how Malone likes to run an offense, right? And always, unfortunately, of course, we can't go back 25 years ago. It wouldn't even do us any good with him being assistant coach anyway. This is how I kind of see him after I looked at how Malone runs an offense when he was at Denver and how Neo fits into that, I think he potentially can be one of the primary hubs. And what I mean by that is one of the primary decision makers. At 6'9", he's not the guy you run everything through, though, at least not yet. But he can be a secondary creator, a ball mover, a decision maker, right off the get-go after the first action. So kind of breaking that down, what that would look like in an offense, in my opinion, would be, catching the ball on the outside of the arc, finding his read, have the ability to swing or attack, right? And then after that, you're attacking the closeouts, and then you can decide if you want to make the next pass or not, keep the offense flowing without stopping it. I don't think here's something that I wrote down that I kind of wanted to drive home, and I wanted to get you, if I'm not tracking, if you don't think I'm tracking along the same lines as y'all are, he's not the engine, but he's potentially the one that keeps the engine running. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think although the physical archetype is extremely different. So again, if this clips, I'm not saying he is this archetype, but I think if you look at his offensive game, he's a better shooting, less athletic Amin Thompson in terms of size and playmaking. You can even look at Asar, just the way he can penetrate and kick out. He does not have to be, as Houston fans would complain about, he does not have to be the primary initiator, but he absolutely can be if need be. Back in Denver, Malone often ran a 3/4 offense using Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray in about 3/4 of the sets and letting Aaron Gordon or whoever else cook on every other or every fourth or fifth possession. And I really do see Neo thriving in a pick and roll role in that way. He can see passing angles that a lot of other guards can't, just because he's just tremendously taller than them. He can create he can create mismatch nightmares. And I mean, you already said it, but it's not that he has to be the primary initiator or that he has to be the primary scorer, but he can always be first or second on any given night, and that's what we really
Absolutely.
need. He gives us a way out if we don't get our number 1, 2, 3, or 4 transfer guy, which we'll talk about in a second, because he can do a lot of the things that other guards can't.
Yeah, Troy, any thoughts before we move on to the rest?
I'm good, man. I'm excited for the Neo pickup.
Jaden, so just one last so I understand. Do you think I was tracking along the same lines with what I was kind of laying out of how I felt?
Yeah, I think there are, especially some Virginia Tech fans that I saw in my mentions, were saying that he can't run an offense and yada yada. One, he can, but two, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to be the number 1 guy. He doesn't have to be the person that runs the engine. But he can keep it going, like you said. He can score if your number 1 scorer is having an off night. He can play make if your number 1 playmaker, if we have a better one, if your number 1 playmaker is maybe scoring a little better, and he can he can fill that facilitator role. I think he's absolutely the type of guy that can fill a 1, 2, or 3 role. He doesn't have to be the main guy in any specific role.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that just goes along with what I was saying earlier, is that's why I feel that this is not only such a good pickup, of why it was so strategic of being an early pickup. This allows Malone and company to start to continue to build, right? Like what Troy just said, that one word is build, and it doesn't pigeonhole them. Yep, right, because he can basically work in an offense of anybody. So I'm very high on it.
It'll be interesting to see who we add around him, and how his, I envision him slowing his game down a little bit more than what we saw him at Virginia Tech. Jaden, you said it, he was the main scoring option at Virginia Tech. I could see him, being a very solid scoring option at Carolina. But I think the style of ball that Malone's going to want to play is more of like a silent assassin role. You know what I mean? He can, and Chris, I agree with everything that you had just said too. Be interesting to see how his passing game develops. I think when I say slowing this game down, really catching the ball, making decisions, being a better decision maker with the ball, where you're not, in a scoring option, but also he gives you the ability that if nothing's there, he can go one-on-one and get a bucket, or create his own shot. So very intriguing pickup. I'm very intrigued to see who we add around him, because that's going to tell us a lot on what we can expect out of Neo this season.
I mean, just think about this from the get-go. If Henry comes back, right? And I don't think it's a big if, but if he does come back, think about having to figure out how to defend against Henry at the size that he is, Stevenson at the size he is, and then Neo at the size that he is, all on the floor at the same time.
It's definitely shaping up for us to be. I mean, we were one of the things going into this past season that the Carolina staff under Hubert, put a focus on is being, more length. I think we were one of the tallest teams in the country, which is complete opposite of the season before. So yeah, it's you got to have that. It's very interesting to see teams take the mold of having a lot of size. When Roy retired, there was a lot of skepticism whether, the two big man or the beefier lineup really worked in college basketball anymore. And we started to see a little bit of teams take more of an NBA style approach to how they operated. And that's kind of trended away a little bit. So it'll be interesting. Teams are loading up on size, and you've got to have it. Jaren being the size that he is, if we can get Henry to come back, and then add Neo and some of the other guys that we're targeting, that they bring length too. So we'll see how those shape up, but definitely shaping up to be one of the tallest teams in the country again this season for sure, which I love that.
All right. Well, we see all your comments. Good stuff there. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about Neo as more and more we go on. I think all three of us in an agreement that, I mean, there are things that you want to see him, work on. But I think at the end of the day, this is, I mean, I do think this is the highest rated transfer portal get that Carolina has ever had. Is that correct?
I'm not too abreast of it. I know it's the highest in Evan Maya, which is what I was really looking at over the past couple of years. He is a 5-star in Evan Maya. He was number 7, I think, in field of 68, and I don't think we ever had that high. Henry was definitely not that high because Henry overproduced compared to what people thought he was going to do. So it's very possible.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, I
is
saw-
wild to me because you knew he was going to be the main big. So, I mean,
Yeah.
He's coming off the bench at Arizona too, the season before he transferred to Carolina. So I saw field of 68 had him at number 7 overall in the portal as well. I think they had Derek Dixon at like maybe in the 20s, something like that.
All right, Jaden, call a shot. Where are we headed next?
Hey, I've got to drop off for a quick second, fellas. Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay,
go ahead. We can go to the available transfers. I think this is a good transition, especially because we talked about that the Neo pickup early on in the portal really allows us really good flexibility in the portal. And there are a couple of guys, of course, that Carolina Twitter and the message boards have been going crazy over. Really 3 guys in particular, in T. Brown, Juke, and Mika, who's been now more and more of a name. So I'm not sure if you guys can see that graphic, but there are a few misconceptions about all 3 of these prospects. I'll talk about T. Brown first. Terrence Brown for Utah. He came from the mid-majors. Really, really good scorer. That's undoubtable. I mean, 19 at the almost 20 a game at the P5 level is really good, no matter it, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. The thing about Terrence Brown is he has elite confidence, and he's not really an elitist anywhere else, but that's okay. He's not the world's best sharpshooter, but I think he could be with a lot more offense and a lot more talent around him. Despite him having good hops, he's not the most athletic. He's not the strongest, doesn't have the quickest change of pace, isn't the heaviest, isn't the fastest, the speediest, or the most agile, but he clearly still averaged 19.5 points per game. I do rate him as a 4-star prospect only because I think that people assume he's going to be the primary initiator, and I don't think he's as equipped as even a Neo is to fill that role. But I'm not sure that's the biggest problem here. I mean, if you have 2 people, let's say we got T. Brown, if you had Terrence Brown and Neo in the same offense, those are 2 people who have at the very least a B-level understanding of how to run an offense. And you have Terrence Brown, who's at the very least a B+ scorer. And he has okay height for his size. It's nothing crazy. So I think this would be a really good pickup. I know there's a lot of momentum gaining on that side. And I know there's things we can't say and that we don't know. Because, again, I'm not going to ever pretend to be a source because I'm not. And nor do I have too many of them. But there is momentum gaining and a lot of optimism that we'll get T. Brown. But I do really love him as the 2 guard. Him and Neil switching between 1 and 2 maybe.
Yeah, so Jaden, real quick though, give us an update of where he's at in his recruitment, and also quick question while you're doing that. Ray Melton, I saw that you put up there, and look, let's just have a discussion about it, right? This isn't an attempt to throw shade or anything, but you say you don't want TB, and you also don't want Paul McNeil. Who do you want? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, so in his recruitment, he had a visit to UNC. If you guys were on Twitter, I mean, you've seen that it looked really good, like better than most visits go. I mean, he was posting on his story nonstop.
Mike Malone had his chain on.
Man, and he couldn't stop smiling. I heard from people that he was posting a lot in his close friends too. I could not verify that, but he looked really excited, and he left for, what is it, Kansas?
Yep.
Yeah, Kansas, and then he's done with that, and then I think he's headed to Kentucky.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that everybody in that's viewing this has been following Kentucky's recruiting, but I feel pretty confident that we can out-recruit Mark Pope right now. I don't know what's going on. Mark Pope, here's what I do know. Mark Pope is absolutely going to throw the world's amount of gold at Terrence Brown because they don't have anybody else. But UNC doesn't lack in money. Carolina does not lack in finances and resources, despite what Arizona and Michigan fans will try to tell you. So I'm very confident in getting Terrence Brown. I would love to pick up. I don't have him as a 5-star for the reasons that a lot of people probably don't want him, but I do think it would still be at the very least a 4.5-star pickup.
Yeah, Troy, thoughts?
Yeah, I'd love to see Terrence Brown in a Carolina uniform this coming up season. I think he he's a guard that attacks the basket relentlessly. And I love that as a point guard. I think you can run some good offense when you have a guard like that running the point. I'd like to see Neo, Jaden. I know you said them two integrating, between the 1 and the 2. I think Terrence really kind of fits the mold more of a primary 1. And Neo, I'd like to see Terrence at the 1, Neo at the 2 more. Neo does give you that option though, so I'm not totally dismissing that. I just think what Terrence brings to the offense and his ability to attack the basket is something that is something that I value with him at that position. So we'll see if we can snag him. I think if you add Terrence, I bring it up when we were talking about Neo, who we add around Neo can really help his game. I think adding Terrence Brown will only complement Neo that much more. So he's a guy that you got to have. If you get a guy like Terrence Brown, it certainly takes the sting away of losing a Derek Dixon.
100%.
With the Mingo, stuff that went on, you have to have a guy that to handle the primary ball position. So we got to have him. Honestly, he's a must-have for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think again, and I didn't mean to. If I did, I didn't mean to come off as saying he can't run a point, because he can.
No,
And
you
don't
didn't.
let there are a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but a good amount of people, enough for me to mention it, that have said that he's a ball hog and that he cannot run point, he can't initiate an offense. That's not true. He was also in an offense that didn't really have that much talent around him.
Yeah.
Besides Keanu Dawes, who just committed to KU. He didn't really have that much offense around him. So his shooting woes, him not being the most efficient, him not being the best initiator in the world. Again, I'm not worried about that too much, just like I wasn't with Neo. I think both of those could be B+ level if he comes to Carolina with more talent around him. He is a much better initiator than Juke Harris. I'm not sure if we're ready to go to Juke, but Juke, I think, is just a better prospect in general. But there are roles that T. Brown can fit that Juke cannot. And if we got Juke, we'd still have some of those holes where if we got T. Brown, I think our floor is raised higher than if we got Juke. Even if I would prefer Juke, because I think our ceiling is higher.
Can you rewind that for me just a little bit? What are you saying?
So between Terrence and Juke, I think both are really good prospects. Juke may raise the ceiling a little higher. He's the better scorer. He's lengthier. He can switch and defend a little better. However, he is not as good of an initiator and an offensive facilitator as T. Brown is. And I think Terrence Brown, that's one thing we really need, especially if we don't plan on running Neo at the point 80% of the time during a game. Terrence Brown can definitely fill that role a lot better than Juke can. So I know a lot of people didn't want Terrence Brown, but he does fill roles better than some of the other guards we're looking at. And another thing, I've seen people saying he's not a good prospect, y'all don't want him. You have to get what you can get. There's only a certain amount of players in the portal, and he is absolutely one of the best players, especially for the value.
I like when I turn the film on and watch Terrence Brown, you can tell he's a Big 12 guard. He plays like that style of basketball in the Big 12. I don't know what it is about it. He just the way he plays, man, you can tell. There's one team that really does worry me a little bit. It'd be KU, just because I think he fits the KU mold and what they like. And certainly he's familiar with Big 12 basketball. So just that whole thing, kind of is in the back of my head a little bit, but I'm like you, Jaden, you got to have Terrence Brown and what he brings to the table.
Yeah, here's a good comment from Law Dog 5159. He says, I agree completely. I think Malone sees the motor of TB, and he doesn't necessarily need a 5-star point guard. I was on the phone, I think, with you, Jaden, and I said, at 6'3", with the abilities that he has, for me, and this is a thing I feel like Carolina has been missing for a few years. Yes, Armando brought it. Yes, RJ brought it from time to time. And I think, but there's only one player. Well, let me go back. And that word is swag, right? That is willing to get up in somebody's face. And I think Caleb, while he didn't get up in people's face, he had that swag factor, right?
I go back
to the Kansas game in in the Smith Center there, and I remember being there and watching him early on just at midcourt flexing, right?
Yeah.
And it felt like yeah, you saw RJ do it. Yeah, you seen Seth do it, but it just felt different. It felt different. And maybe that was just me up in the hype, right? But you also saw Seth Trimble come right behind him and say, it felt like that moment of the senior to the freshman, we got to lock back in, right? You got to calm down. And so for me, I mean, with the tools that Terrence Brown possesses, also, I mean, when's the last time that I don't know if you've ever seen a guard in Chapel Hill that's got I'm just going to say it, 2 full sleeves and plays in a headband.
100%. And that matters more than people think. I mean, the attitude, the looks, the swag, it all really matters. And we haven't had that. I mean, was RJ maybe the most tatted player that we've had at guard? And he wasn't as tatted as Terrence Brown, that's for sure. Of course, it doesn't necessarily translate to being a perfect prospect. Right. It does matter.
Well, that's what I say. Just his whole aura just reminds me of a Kansas basketball player. I don't know why. It just does. Just his whole aura and demeanor that he's got. That's the only thing that I've got in the back of my head with KU and his recruitment. Is that he just strikes me as a Kansas player.
Yeah, Ray Melton over on YouTube. Look what EC did. Elliot Cadeau. What do you mean by that? Are you talking about
Elliot's tatted?
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I'm just talking about more.
I guess that's what he meant.
Yeah, if you look at Terrence Brown, it's quite different. I don't want to get so off on I'm not talking about we need tatted guys lead to talent. They absolutely don't, right? Like I have a half sleeve and I suck at basketball. I mean, I love basketball. I know the game of basketball. I know the game of X's and O's, as I talked about earlier, of what I felt like Neo could be. I felt like going and looking at a Malone offense. I know the game. I don't know as deep as I do as football, but I just feel like it would be nice to have a player at Carolina like that, because I also feel like he matches and maybe this is what I should have added early on. I feel like he matches the mentality of Malone.
Absolutely.
I think him and Malone really like each other too. Of course, that's being parasocial because I've never met either one of them. But just from an outside perspective, seeing the recruiting pitch, his visit, they look like they really like each other. They look like really matched. I mean, like you said, Malone wearing his chain, how often do you really see that?
That was dope. I like that.
Yeah. I don't know. That gave me Brian Kelly vibes.
Oh man, come on now.
I think I'm a little more excited about Malone than Kelly.
It's Malone and his whole NBA aura, man. It just
I know. You just remember that Brian Kelly when they were on that spinner and he was just like,
oh yeah, he was like
See, the difference between Brian Kelly and Mike Malone to me is Mike Malone naturally has it. Brian Kelly tries to.
Right. Well, you also have Brian Kelly at his conference but introduction there and he switched completely to a country accent. It's like, what is happening right now, bro?
Yeah, dude, you just spent 10 years in Indiana? Come on now.
Yeah, it's kind of like Will Wade. He just tries way too hard to be a hard ass.
Yeah, that's what I love about Malone. He is who he is, and who he is great, and it's perfect for Carolina.
I mean, I can't wait to be in the Smith Center and when he crashes out. Can you imagine? And I'm just like the wine and cheese crowd is a real thing. It is a real
100%.
thing.
It's a problem.
It is a problem. But I mean, you saw people, watching the presser when Malone said, and I don't want to get too off topic because we got a lot of other players to cover, is when he said ass, I was like, well, there was the first one. No, was it hell or ass? I can't remember which one it was, but I was like, well, there's the first one, and it's not going to be the last one.
Yeah, related to that, I remember the report had came out, quote unquote, because these are all burner accounts that try to act like they're sources, saying that Elliot Cadeau's brother, that's what it was, saying that Hubert was cussing Elliot out and all that. And I'm like, I think I'm more likely to get struck by lightning 5 times in a row than Hubert cussing out a player. He may have been saying fart, but he was not dropping any F-bombs or anything like that. Mike Malone will, and I'm happy to have it. I'd love to listen in practice. I'd love to, man. I like you said, I can't wait to see the Smith Center when he crashes out for the first time. I don't even care if it's wrong. I don't care if we're losing by 30. The crowd will love it just because we haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, Morgan Captain Mo 004 with the boxing picture there. There you go, Jaden and Troy. I guess too. I learn something every day. It's not a thing when I'm there. I will say I'm not sure where you are sitting, but I have a very good in my in my seats that are in the same spot for every game, I can definitely see that wine and cheese crowd. And I know people that go to almost every game that get yelled at for standing up when their lower bowl.
Yeah, it is the most irritating thing. And I know we're not talking about the difference between renovated and deemed dome and Carolina North,
No.
but it has been the wine and cheese crowd has been a big problem. I mean, and it probably is much more of an issue for recruiting than a lot of people are willing to admit when it comes to us versus KU and Duke specifically, who often are described as the two best arenas to play in college basketball. There's no reason the Dean Smith Center shouldn't be number one. But Terrence Brown and Mike Malone can change that single-handedly.
We've led the nation in home attendance like the last 2-3 years, something like that.
Yeah, the arena's huge. I just wish that, like Chris said, there weren't people that were yelled at for standing up. And,
I feel you.
It's about 5 minutes after the tip-off, everybody's sitting down and it gets a little quiet. And it's like, man, what happened? I mean, that Kansas game, I was excited because people seemed like they were standing the whole game, and then it never happened again all season.
No, everybody won't stand the whole game. They just show on TV the sections that are.
Yeah, and that's probably
just
true.
saying,
Even
bro.
for the Duke game. Even for the Duke game, I saw people sitting, and I'm like, man, we got to do better. We got to do better.
Yeah, I think this is where I was thinking about too. I know what you mean. When we're playing lesser opponents, it does tend to get a little bit dull when we're playing like even the Clemson game. You know what I mean? That was a back and forth game, and it just there wasn't a electricity. I feel what you guys are saying.
Yeah. All right. Juke Harris, did we do a good job there? Did we?
Just a little bit more about Juke, just in case anybody watching does not know. He did say that he would like to leave the ACC. That's paraphrasing. He wanted to prove his talents outside of the ACC. Now, he is from the ACC, but I don't know exactly where his commitment stands between us and Michigan and Tennessee. I know Tennessee fans are really ramping up their attempts, their fan attempts, however much that may weigh on Juke's mind, if any, and they're really confident. He's been very quiet on that front. All reports lead to just nobody really knows anything yet. But I mean, a really, really good scoring guard, really good length, not an elite defender, but very serviceable. He can switch again with more talent around him. I think he can be an even better defender, especially if Henry comes back and Mika or Jaren. I know we'll talk about Mika a little bit with Jaren behind him. He can fill a little bit of a Stephon Castle role in defense. And what I mean by that isn't that he can be Stephon Castle on defense. I don't think he can. However, Stephon Castle might look a lot better than what he is. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, that's the guard for the Spurs. He might look a lot better than what he is on defense only because Wemby's right behind him. And he can gamble a little more. He can play a little uptight because he doesn't have to fall back since he has so much length and size behind him. So I think Juke Harris, I mean, he would be a perfect pickup if we can't get Terrence Brown. I'm pretty much, although I do have that Juke is a 5-star here and Terrence is a 4-star portal prospect, I'm pretty much equally inept, and I'd love both. Terrence fills more roles. Juke gives us a higher ceiling, but Terrence maybe raises our floor a little bit. I would love Juke. I don't know if we're going to get him. Like I said, Tennessee fans feel really, really confident. Exactly why, I'm not sure, or even if I am, I couldn't really disclose it because it's behind paywalls. But in Michigan fans, Michigan throwing a lot of money at him too. But I think either Terrence or Juke would be a really huge get. I know a lot of Carolina fans think we can get both. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't think that's going to happen. I think both of them want the keys to the offense, at least at the guard position. So getting both is highly unlikely to me. But again, I don't have a source, so it's possible.
Okay, so it looks like Caleb, he said we're not getting Juke in the comments, but he did come back and says, I hope so. Caleb, was that just a feeling that you were saying that? Also, I started this comment from Law Dog. I thought it was pretty funny. Had an older couple that would trade off The Economist and Forbes to each other every Saturday in Keenan for years. I don't think they ever saw a play.
Dude, it's bad in Keenan. Oh, my word. It's bad.
There's a lady in my season ticket section in Keenan, 2 rows down, right there to the side. She reads the Kindle for the whole game.
It's crazy, man. I was sitting in the blue zone when we played against Richmond, and
was that the time you took a nap?
That was the time I took a nap. Oh, appreciate you calling me out. That was a good nap, though. Let me tell you something. It's like I was sitting, my buddy Philip sits on the first row in the blue zone, and right below the blue zone is that little fenced in little area where the basketball team sits. And I was sitting there, paying attention to just surroundings and whatnot, which is I'm notorious for doing. It's like nobody was even paying attention to the game. Like everybody was just taking pictures with the game in the background and like just having casual conversation. I'm like, I'm sorry, am I the only one that's paying attention to the football game around here?
You're talking about the blue zone, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far off topic, but I will say this for sure. I will stand on this. I will stand on this. 10 toes down still the same? Down. Yeah, 10 toes down. Blue zone is the worst infrastructure creation ever at Carolina.
Have you been in the blue zone?
Yeah, I've been in it multiple times. I will not take free tickets in blue zone, and I will regular sit, even though you get free food and cake pops and all that crap. I'd rather sit in my season tickets.
I don't mind the blue zone. I'll keep this quick. I don't mind the blue zone. It was interesting when they first built it to begin with. What I mean? But
what I mean by that is, it's why. It's like that, right? It's why it's such a bad atmosphere in the blue zone for the most part is because a lot of those people that buy those tickets, they give them away.
Yeah,
business away. They give them to employees that are not Carolina fans, or they are Carolina fans, but they don't follow it per se. I guess you would. No, I'm not going to say that word. But that's why the blue zone is such a bad thing. Anyway, we're getting way off.
Let's
two football guys. You get them in here. We somehow don't get football in here. But
even relating it back to the wine and cheese crowd in the Dean Smith Center, I think it. Like when I was watching the women's versus UConn, and my grandfather, I was watching the TV the whole time. I was glued to it. I have a picture I can send you guys. And my grandfather was like, "Why are you watching? They're down 20." And I looked at him and I'm like, "What? You just stop watching when your team is down? Like that doesn't really make any sense to me. I don't stop watching until the press conference is done." The wine and cheese crowd is like my grandfather. But like I said, I think Malone and Terrence Brown, and maybe if we get Paul McNeil, can really help that. I'm really excited. I guess I'll transition to Paul McNeil and Matt Abel if you want to, Chris.
He's muted, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Dang, that's 2 nights in a row. Baseball too.
So both 4-star prospects in the portal from NC State and Evan Maya, they are ranked 38 and 42nd respectively. Very different players, but they would fill similar roles. They both are sizable guards, serviceable on defense. Matt Abel's a lot more serviceable. I'm not going to call him an elite defender, but he's a very good one. Paul McNeil, a lot of people in the chat might know him from the 47-point game versus Texas Southern, where he had 11 threes, something like that. It was nuts. But it wasn't a one-off. He had I have it in my notes. I think let me see real quick. Yeah, he scored 15 points 13 times and 20 plus points 8 times. The biggest concern with him, which again, it's not a huge concern with me, only because I think we will have more talent than NC State had this year. Clearly, I'm sorry, State fans. Is that he was consistently inconsistent when it came to how hot he was. And if he's not on one, his impact can lower a little bit. But I'm okay with that. And then with Matt Abel, he's just a coach's guy. He's a glue guy. He can pretty much do everything. He's not the world's best initiator, but he would never have to be. That's not his position. He just does what you want him to do. And either one of these guys, would be 4-star prospects, but 5-star gets for Carolina.
Yeah, I'd love to see us. Matt Abel is a guy. Matt Abel's a guy. I've got quite a few NC State fans that are friends of mine, and I told him, Matt Abel is a guy that if State's able to keep him, State was able to keep him. He was a program guy for sure. So it's very interesting to see his name being thrown around in the mix of Carolina, talking to him and reaching out. I think either one of those guys would be, very serviceable in Chapel Hill. Paul McNeil, I'm like you, Jaden. He was very hot and cold. You live by him, you die by him kind of feel with NC State. But he's an in-state kid. I think Carolina was recruiting him a little bit. out of Richmond County. Go Raiders. I don't know if we got anybody from Richmond County here watching us, but that Raider magic is something serious. But he gives you shooting. We lost Jonathan Powell to the portal to Pitt.
Sad. I wanted to keep him so badly.
I did too, man. He was another guy that I think with a more consistent role, he could have really, really done well for Carolina. But if you get a guy like Paul McNeil who can shoot, Jonathan Powell was brought in to shoot. I mean, he set a record for, I think, the most 3-pointers scored at West Virginia. I want to say that stat's leaving my head.
Yeah, as a freshman, yeah.
Yeah, I think he hit like 60-some threes or something like that his freshman year. One of the two set a record for it. I appreciate you backing me up on that because that thought was completely escaping my head.
I loved him when we got him, and I remembered that stuff.
I think he's going to do well at Pitt, man. I think he'll do well under Capel. I think Capel will get him ready to play. But I think if you get a guy like Paul McNeil, you can replace the shooting that we were expecting with Jonathan Powell. Matt Abel, I love him as a glue guy. Like you said, he's a locker room guy, coach's guy. And yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see those two names being thrown around in the mix. I know we had somebody in here saying we don't want a state guy, but those are two state guys. In my opinion, from just looking at basketball as a whole, I think they'd be very solid and serviceable additions to Carolina. I really do.
Yeah, and just a quick tidbit on us not wanting a state guy. I completely understand it. I mean, I have an irrational hatred for Duke and State.
For sure.
My family thinks it's unhealthy. However, when it comes to getting guys from their teams, I'm more than okay with it. I mean, one, after losing Lubin, I almost crashed out. And, man, I'm not going to say really what I felt or what I feel about Lubin. But I give freshmen grace. And Matt Abel, I'll give him some. I definitely give Paul McNeil grace. I mean, as a freshman, you're going where you feel like you're going to be used best, whether it's money, geography, family, playing time, pro scouting. So a freshman going from State or Duke to UNC, I give them grace. I'd love to have him. Matt Abel, he did stay 2 years at State. He's kind of entrenched in that rivalry, so us getting him is kind of a shocker if we do. But like I said, I'm more than okay with it stealing their guys. If they steal our guy again, that's just very unfortunate, but I'm sure that won't happen. That was a one-off.
I mean, in today's era, I mean, the relationships do still matter, right? While people will try to tell you they don't, while they might as matter as much as they used to, they do still matter. That's why it's so important that you bring someone in like Chuck Martin, right?
Yeah.
Very good relationship builder from everything that I've been able to understand about his career. But I would definitely hop on Paul McNeil Jr. I love his game. I mean, but what I was saying is, I think in this day and age, I mean, State guy hits the portal or Duke guy hits the portal. If they feel like the relationship's right and the money is definitely there, I mean, I think there's a better chance than ever before it happening.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, like I said, 4-star in the portal for a different team. I think they would both be 5-star pickups for UNC. I don't think we're going to get both. I'm more of a pessimistic fan than most, but getting either McNeil or Abel, I mean, would just be so huge. They're both sizable guards. They're both still kind of young. It would be a really good pickup.
I like what Matt Abel brings on the defensive end too. You think of Malone and him being a defensive-minded head coach. I think Matt Abel, he can come into the program and give you a spark off the bench, and also give you a spark on the defensive end too.
Yeah,
he hit some big shots against Carolina when State beat us this year in Raleigh.
Yeah, he's like a smaller Jaren. And in terms of being a glue guy, a good defender, and I think we can really use that. And I guess I'll transition from that to Allen Graves. This is less of a name that's been mentioned more, but we were in his top 11, at least initially, when they said the schools that reached out that he had interest from and there was mutual interest. 5-star prospect from Santa Clara, a do-it-all forward, large guard or small forward. Number 1 in Evan Miles Porter rankings. This is a really good guy. And Evan Miles tends to be pretty accurate when it comes to Porter rankings, more accurate than a lot of other softwares or data points. I don't necessarily think we're going to get Allen Graves only because he's going to command a lot in the portal and probably more than we can afford, given the fact that we need some more pieces. But if we could, another guy who can just do it all, serviceable defender, decent playmaker, he can score, he can rebound, he can run the floor, he can run a half court set. It would absolutely, I mean, it would just be a dream pickup to get Allen.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't committed already.
Me too. I thought that somebody was going to throw $15 trillion at him and he'd be done with a do not contact tag.
15 trillion. Okay, where do we go from here, Jaden? Do we need to talk about Henry?
I'll just give a quick tidbit on him. Obviously 5-star plus get if we can keep him for obvious reasons. I don't think too much is said about that. Those heights were mixed up. Henry was supposed to be 7 feet and Mika was supposed to be 6'11", but it's not much of a, doesn't matter too much. And then Mika, this is a much more of a question for a prospect. There's a lot of intrigue about him more than there is confidence, but I mean, if he can be good, he can be really good. And I know Carolina is really heavy on him right now. The message boards are pretty confident that we can get him. I'm not as confident, but like I said, I'm just more of a pessimistic fan than usual. But an athletic freak at almost 7 feet, he can pretty much do it all. He's a great defender. But if we can get either one of those guys, and I do think I'm pretty confident in us at least getting one of them. If we can get either one of them and have Jaren back, man, the size is crazy.
Yeah, I'd love to have Henry back. I think Carolina, the staff wants him. I think he's, arguably one of their top priorities when you're talking about roster construction and what this team will look like for next season. Mika's a guy, man, that, I'll just touch on him just a little bit. There's very few guys that I have seen play the game of basketball where I've been like, that dude right there is a superstar in the NBA waiting to happen.
Pro.
And Mika, and the last guy that the most recent guy that I said that was Victor Wembanyama. And he, just that unicorn, being able to just give him the ball and just let him work. And, I'm like you, Jay, and I believe it when I see it, and if we see it. But if we're in play for him, I think Carolina's got to do everything they can to get him on campus and get him in a Carolina uniform next season because he has got superstar pro potential written all over him. I think somebody said, something about his attitude. Kind of see a little bit of the tenacity that he plays with, all over, when he plays on the court. But I think there's very few guys that I've seen play the game that I'm like, that dude right there has got superstar written all over him. And if we are able to get him, I think his mom played at Carolina, so there is a connection there. If we're in play to get him, I think you got to put a full court press on him and get him in a Carolina jersey for next season.
Man, you got to throw the house. I mean, if he has a brother, sister, or friend in prison, make some calls, get him out of the prison. If he wants a dog, get him a golden retriever. I mean, you got to do whatever you got to do to get him. And if we can, like I said, the size that this team would have is just absurd. If we can get both of them, I don't even know I don't know. I mean, does Jaren go to the bench? Does he start as small? I mean, the things you can do with this team just become insurmountable.
I do think that we have to have at the very minimum Henry back, and I do like our chances with him. It almost gives me a Harrison Ingram kind of vibe from a couple seasons ago, where Harrison Ingram got a similar UAC grade. I think they were around in the 40s, and he banked on himself and went pro. I think there were, and that could have turned him coming back to Carolina could have turned that whole season. The season before last, where we played in the first four against San Diego State, that team could have had a whole different look. Just had Harrison Ingram just came back, but it'll be interesting to see what we do with Henry. I would love to have Henry back. I think if I'm Mike Malone or if I'm Henry Vasar, I'm turning on the tape and looking at, and the same can be said with Mika. I'm looking at what Jokic is doing in Denver under Mike Malone, and that's enticing to me. So being able to get one of those guys is if we're in play for Mika, I think that'd be awesome. But I'd be just as happy with getting Henry Vasar back for another season.
Yeah, and just one thing, like you said, Troy, I've seen a couple of, comments about, potentially, his attitude fit. I think if there's anybody there, I think Malone knows best of how to potentially deal with those, right? With working with, pros, right? And
Well,
all
he's
that
killing
comes
it.
with that are pros.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. He's killing
No.
everybody that he's playing against
Well,
overseas. Like, I mean, he's gonna have an attitude about him. I mean, when you're over there dominating like he's dominating right now, I mean, I probably would do the same thing. To be honest with you.
Well, I think too, like, kind of what I was talking about is that, I think something to keep in mind is that, he's young.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, he's kind of been out of his place somewhat, going overseas and playing for this year. And so, Jane, do you remember where his dad played? His dad was a good baller too.
I'm not sure.
Somebody dropped that in the comments.
I have seen some comments about his defense. Two things about that. I'm not too worried about that again. I see his dad played for the Finnish EuroLeague team. I'm not too worried about his defense or his attitude with Mike Malone at the helm, a defensive specialist who will get on your case. Man, I mean, especially if we can get Henry back, but whether we can or can't, this is a guy who's an athletic freak and who would be playing potentially for a defensive specialist coach who has a proven track record of turning guys who are unathletic into serviceable defenders, despite what Jokic fans will tell you. Jokic haters will tell you he's not the world's worst defender, at least not under Mike Malone. So I would be really happy to have him. I think he'd be a do-it-all big who would just raise the ceiling of this team to championship level.
Yeah, good comment here from Law Dog. A lot of scouts said Aaron Gordon had a bad attitude. I see what Malone did with his career.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you saw
very solid point.
You saw the development graphic that Carolina put out. I mean, he's worked with a lot of people. This is someone.
Yeah, he developed LeBron.
I mean, yeah.
He developed LeBron. He developed Chris Paul. You can't deny Malone's talent.
I know. Kind of don't clip us there, as you see that we are kind of sarcastically here with that. I really hope that was a troll, though, a graphic to troll with.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I mean, I'm there's no shot that they were being serious with it, but I'm very glad they put it out. I had fun with it. I mean, somebody pointed out, they were like, "What? He didn't develop CP3. He was there for 3 weeks." I'm like, man, he developed CP3 if he's a Carolina coach. So if he goes to state, he didn't have anything to do with CP3. But if he comes here, CP3 is only good because of him.
Yeah, Jaden, does it wrap it up? Are we done?
Yeah, I think that's all the transfers, at least that I think there are legitimate, at least 4-star and up, that we have a legitimate chance at getting.
I just wanted to,
that does wrap it up.
Before you guys say anything else, because I don't, probably have some closing thoughts here. Do us a favor right now. If you're listening on YouTube, do us a massive favor and go subscribe over on YouTube. You can catch right now our Heels on the Diamond show for Carolina baseball and Carolina softball. Our flagship show of Heels on Franklin is the Tar Pit podcast. Who knows? Heels on the Hardwood might give it a little bit of run for its money, though. You never know. And one other thing, look, there's 630 people tuned in on the Heels on Franklin stream over on Twitter, and we have almost 500 followers. So there's close to 138, give or take, people that are listening right now that doesn't follow Heels on Franklin. Do us a favor, follow that. And look, I know that when y'all probably listen to other podcasts and shows, you don't get reminded that much, but as a grassroots platform, that goes a long way.
It means a lot to us.
Yeah, it means a lot to us. Troy, closing thoughts.
I'm excited for the Malone era, fellas. I really, really am. It's going to be interesting to see who we're able to get, what this roster construction looks like. I'm very intrigued on how this team's going to look going into next season. I think there are some pieces that you have to address, and if you don't, it could get very interesting. But I'm very excited for the renewed energy around Carolina basketball. I'm excited for Heels on the Hardwood, being brought to the Carolina community. as a part of Hills on Franklin and everything that we got going on and as we continue to grow. Jaden, I'm excited that you're part of the Hills on Franklin family, brother. It was a great first episode. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see how it goes, man. It's very exciting times to be a Carolina fan. We got a lot of things to be excited for. And yeah, that's what I got, man.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be a part of the family, the growth for Hills on Franklin and the Tar Pit podcast, Hills on the Hardwood, coming to the women's side soon as well. Man, Carolina top 15 preseason ranking coming your way. I can promise you, at least with Mike Malone, I could never promise that with Hubert. But with Mike Malone, this will be a top 15 team. This will be a Sweet 16 team. I'm letting y'all know that now. If you want to clip it, if somebody wants to clip it, that's fine. I don't care. Come at me in the comments when we lose in the first four. It doesn't matter to me. But this will be a Sweet 16 team at the least, top 15. And I'll do something if we're not.
All right. JJ said he would. JJ Jones, who does work with us on the football side, said he would wear a state shirt.
I will never do that.
They tried to call him out on it, and he posted a picture at his visit or something like that. State was like, "This is what you get. I wore this when I was taking a visit or something like that."
I'll never go as far as to say I'll wear a State or a Duke shirt. I mean, I would just never spend my money on that. No, it's not in my heart. I could never let God see me in an NC State shirt.
I don't know how people make bets with their rival friends. Like if Carolina beats Duke, you got to wear a Carolina shirt for a day. Or if Duke beats Carolina, you got to wear Duke. I would never sign up for something like that. Never. I used to have people try to do that to me in high school. I was everybody knew me in high school, knew I was a diehard UNC fan, and all my Duke friends would be like, "Well, if Duke wins, you got to wear a Duke shirt." I'm like, "No, you will catch me in anything else but a Duke shirt."
I will wear a Big Bird costume before I wear it for a week straight before I wear a Duke shirt. It will just never happen.
I was already the Chick-fil-A cow a couple of times in high school. I'm just putting it out there. Hey, Chick-fil-A was the best place to work in high school, man. You got a free meal every time.
It's still a great place to work. I thought about it.
Yeah. But I will say I am crashing out just a little bit because my kid, I mean, she is 8, and I feel like at any time during a child's younger life, right, they say they want to be a vet, right? But literally she's wanted to be this for 5 years. She's already goes to vet clinics, and she recently went to the big vet fair that was all day long at NC State. She comes back and she's like, "Dad, I think I might want to go to State for vet school." And so I was like, "You're going to be paying for college." And Anna just looked at me, my wife, I was like,
my cousin actually just committed, when I say committed, quote unquote, to NC State to study bugs. And he asked me to help him move. And I'm like, yeah, he asked me to help him move. I'm like, "Hey, look, man, you got it. You're not getting any help from me because I'm not going on that campus. I'm sorry."
I will say, though, NC State's vet school is one of the top of the nation.
Yeah, they're pretty solid.
They do good at studying bugs, according to you, Jaden.
And milking cows.
Yeah, well, if I wear a cow costume one day, which is much more plausible than me ever wearing an NC State shirt, then they can milk that all they want. But immunity. But yeah, man, I could never imagine wearing a rival. There's nothing in my house that's dark blue. Nothing.
I will say, though, this might make y'all cringe a little bit. Maybe of the 1,200 people tapped in right now. I mean, NC State, they do good work on the agriculture side with the local farm, which is like us. We need that in North Carolina with food and stuff. So, I mean, they do have some important roles.
Yeah, absolutely. So, their agriculture presence is
it's massive.
It's pretty impressive. And I won't. They catch a lot of slack for that, but in terms of the state of North Carolina, that's very, very pivotal. So I will not.
Jaden's cringing.
No, I would never slam their academics. I mean, if you're getting a degree from NC State, it is still a top institution in the country. Just as an athletic department.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
Don't ever talk to me if you're an NC State fan. You don't have the right to talk to me.
I will say though, in MBA school at Carolina, we had state grads come to Keenan Flagger for their MBA and not go to State's MBA. I'm just saying.
Yeah, man, I just, as an NC State fan, I would feel sorry for you. I just don't have the ability to feel empathy for an NC State or Duke fan. But you can always, well, no, you can't come on the side, but you can root for us on the inside. There's this one Twitter account. I won't mention his name. I don't think he deserves the credit. Uh, but that switched from a UNC burner to an NC State burner. If you're on Carolina Twitter, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. I won't mention his name. I no longer am in his comments for that reason. But I can guarantee you we'll be better than NC State this year, and at least in basketball. And
Man, don't be throwing him shade, dude. He's gonna send his burner army to our next episode. But I'm just saying, I did send him a message when he did do the transition over, and I was like, "Hey, man, if you ever need anything, like, let me know. Super respect for putting education first over fandom, that type of thing." I'm just saying.
Absolutely. Nothing on this education. I hope he does well in life. But in terms of, like I said, being on Twitter and the Carolina sports fandom, you got it, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we can get out of here after 15 minutes of just joshing up there at the end. Look, I do want to say this has been a 2-hour episode. All of our episodes moving forward are not going to be 2 hours long. They're more than likely going to be close to about a little bit under an hour or just a tad bit over an hour. Tonight was 2 hours because we had about 30 minutes about who we are as a show, who Jaden is, what we feel like, this show under Hills on Franklin is going to be. And look, our sincere thanks to everybody tapped in right at 1,250 for the first show. Man, that means the world to us. It just means a lot. Appreciate everybody in the comment. Like I said already, be sure to go over on YouTube, subscribe. Also, know that we are on Spotify. After I load up a episode, I will tell you, after every time I load an episode up to Spotify, what you laughing about?
I'm just laughing at Trevor's YouTube picture. He just looks funny to me. I love you, Trev.
Caleb is cooking me in the comments too. But I will say, every time I upload an episode to Spotify, it says shows like yours average 250 followers. And I feel like it just slaps me in the face because we only have like 110. Every time I load one up, I'm like, why do you keep telling me this?
Hey, it's
we're growing.
We got a presence over there though. Y'all be sure to give us a like and a follow. Trevor said, "Settle down, Troy." I wasn't clowning you, buddy. It's just I pulled your comment up on the thing and I just seen you in your suit. It just made me chuckle.
Yeah, I've seen that one for a while. But I will say, just read it again. Every episode is not going to be 2 hours long. We just had a lot of like housekeeping for the first night. Look, shout out to Jaden, as we always say. Troy does good. He does do good notes. But I will say that Andrew and Jaden are giving Trevor a run for his money on the note side there when it comes to the football side. But Jaden, you killed it tonight with about 3 to 4 pages of notes here. We appreciate that. Caleb said, "I've never seen him without a hat until that picture."
Yeah,
all right, I'm gonna stop reading these comments so we can get out of here. All right, Jaden, you're gonna get your first until next time. Go Hills. All right, guys, look for Hills on the Hardwood. We'll see you next week. We haven't picked a night yet. Maybe we'll look at doing every Thursday. Right now, we'll talk with Jaden and Troy here. But also wanted to say that Troy and JJ Jones, who used to play football at Carolina, they're going to be live Sunday night, just doing Portal, not Portal. That's over. Thank God for football. They're going to be talking about
spring updates.
So
spring updates. Position battles. JJ's been to a couple spring practices, so going to get his insight on how those went, how the guys are looking. And you guys be sure to tune into the Tar Pit on Sunday night. We'll have a graphic coming out later with a time and all that good stuff. But super excited to have my guy, the JJ Jones, back on with us. Yes, sir. That's right.
Also,
Tar Pit.
Also, Hills on the Diamond this weekend. We are credentialed for Carolina baseball and all Olympic sports, Carolina softball. So we'll be there this weekend. If you're looking for post game after game 1, 2, and 3, you can catch that on YouTube, and then we'll load it over on Twitter.
Huge weekend in the Bosch. If you've got tickets to go to the game, it's a top 3 matchup. Georgia Tech's ranked 2nd, Carolina's ranked 3rd in the country. Diamond Heels are looking tough, man. It's just one of the best teams I've ever seen us have, man. And Georgia Tech's a good team. If you got tickets to the game this weekend, be sure to go support the Diamond Heels, man. It's
Get rowdy.
Yeah, get rowdy. Georgia Tech came into Carolina this season and walked away with a dub, I believe. So go support.
Yep. All right. Look, we appreciate everybody tapping in. Until next time, go Heels.
Go Heels.
Thank you for listening to Heels on the Hardwood, presented by Heels on Franklin. You can find all episodes of Heels on the Hardwood on the Heels on Franklin YouTube channel and on Spotify. So whether you like watching or listening, we've got you covered. If you're looking for Carolina football coverage, be sure to check out the Tar Pit Podcast, which you can also find on the Heels on Franklin YouTube channel and on Spotify. We will see you next time.